Join us at Pole Pole, where Dorcas shows us a new perspective of what the African community is doing now.
Hello, a warm welcome and thank you for joining us right here at Pole Pole. I'm your host, Dorcas, and this is a new perspective only on Oz African TV. In the tent, I'm joined by Deruka Dekuek, a young woman who advocates for her community and mentors refugees in Ballarat. Then I'm joined by Agnes Nsofwa, who is the co-founder of an advocacy group that assists and supports people who are affected by sickle cell anemia in Australia. We'll go around town to see what's happening in our community. And then all the way from New Zealand is UNCHAINED XL, who's here to not only perform live, but to also share a little bit about his story. We have a big show ahead of us, so let's get started with my first guest. Welcome back to the tent to meet my first guest. Deruka Dekuek is a young woman who advocates for her community and mentors refugees in Ballarat. She was recently featured alongside 9 other women in an exhibition that celebrates phenomenal women of Australia. The exhibition was hosted by her place at Eureka Centre in Ballarat. She joins me now to have a conversation about it all. Hi, Daruka.
Hi. Dorcas,
how are you going? I'm good.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me and welcoming me into such a wonderful environment.
Thank you. You're more than welcome. So now, let's talk a little bit about the exhibition. So, you know, this is incredible. Your name next to all these fabulous women who are doing such incredible work in their personal lives as well as in the community. How does that make you feel?
Well, so I'm still in a shock mood, So when it's come to that exhibition, because I never knew myself, coming from a refugee background, that I would be one day noticed or someone would point a finger and say, hey, Daruka, you're doing well, or you have done that. I felt really shocked, and it has been really wonderful. And it's a great feeling for someone to give you a hug and to say that, well done, you've done well. So coming from a war-torn country whereby the war broke out when I was about 7 years old, and that's the time I lost my dad. So I've been raised up by a widow, so lady or a woman, so with other 6 children. So it was hard to find my feet or to find the right direction. So, but from day one, so I had these kind of strange dreams, and Mom used to call me that, oh, Daruka, you're crazy.
Look at you now. No, but you know, you touched on the war broke out when you were that age. And obviously you and your family were afraid, and you ran into the bush and then, you know, for a little while you were there. What would you say to that 7-year-old?
I would say that never let go of your dreams. So, and staying in the bush, for example, for 7 years, was not easy. So I came out of the bush when I was 14 years, and you have to follow that shining star.
Amazing. And you know, talking about that, when you were 16, so you came out when you were 14, and then you were lucky enough to go to a refugee camp in Kenya.
Very lucky.
Very lucky. And then at 16 years old, that's like everything changed.
Exactly.
You were introduced to education.
Exactly.
First time in kinder at 16 years old.
At the age of 16 years old.
Oh,
first time in class with 4 years, kids. And it was like, what am I really doing in this environment? Should I even be cleaning the tables or listen to the teacher? But I told myself, hey, hang on, Daruka. If I could endure the 7 years in the bush, how come? So let me be one of the teachers in the class, and that's how I overcome the situation.
Then you came to Australia looking for a better future, and you found it.
I would say that it took me a while. So, but keeping that dreams, doesn't matter how long it takes, and I tell people, so success is not overnight thing, So it took me 7 years before achieving what I've got at the moment. So when I first came to Australia, so I decided to have kids because I dropped out from intensive English language school. And after having 4 of my children, I say, hey, hang on, Daruka. I should be grateful. I'm in Australia, so they offer to give me this opportunity. What am I going to pay back to the community? So I decided to go back, did a bit of certificate 3 in home and community services, went and did my diploma, and from my diploma, so I was lucky to get admission at Victoria University, so whereby I did my undergrad in international community development. So I was acknowledged as the most outstanding student of the year out of 200 students in class. I could not believe that, but it did happen. So, and finally, I'm graduating from my master's of international development. So I've been really lucky to be here and to be supported and to be given the opportunity. So, and I say a lot of thank you to my organization, which is Ballarat Regional Multicultural Council, because they can read my face and see the stress. Daruka, you need study leave. Go and focus.
Go home. Take some time off. Amazing. And as a woman who's gone through all of these things, you know, you've seen it all and you're involved in the community, I would like you to talk about the empowered woman.
Well, I think I've been doing this naturally because I feel like I have to tell people my story. And it's not a matter of bragging or to show off. So, but I feel like if I share my story with someone, oh, they'll say, oh, wow, Daruka have done it. Why can't I do it? So I would say that I was lucky to be empowered. So the opportunities are here for us. So, but it is up to you. Do you want to make the fool of it? Or how do you have to conquer that goal? So you need to set your dreams. And I always tell my daughter, she's 13 years old, that whatever you dream. So she said, oh, I want to be a millionaire, Mom. I don't doubt it. Like my mom used to doubt me. And she said, oh, Daruka, you're crazy. But for me, I know there's nothing hard. As long as you got your feet up and you want to sweat a bit. Okay? So any woman can do it. Yes.
Amazing. Thank you so much. But before I let you go, I want to close off with a just take it out of my hidey place. A little a quote that you said. Here in Australia, I have to get a job and get an education, but I am happy because unlike my mother, I don't have fear for my daughter's safety in the same intense way that my mother feared for mine. Daruka, thank you so much for taking the time to come to Oz African TV. We appreciate you, love your story, very inspirational.
Really appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
It has been a pleasure.
We still have a whole lot coming your way, so sit tight. And remember, you can join us in a conversation online on our Facebook page or Instagram page. For now, let's go and meet my next guest. Sickle cell anemia affects millions of people around the world. And those with ancestors who come from sub-Saharan Africa are among a group of people who are more prone to this condition. Joining me now is the co-founder of Australian Sickle Cell Advocacy, Agnes Nsofwa, who is here to tell us a little bit more about this condition. Agnes, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
It's an absolute pleasure. Now, you know, when I first got your email and, you know, you spoke about this condition, I was like, you know, this makes sense to me because when I was pregnant, I was told that I was anemic, but, you know, nothing happens. I was just given a couple of medication and, you know, then you move on. But I hear a lot of my friends, a lot of, you know, sisters out there going, my iron is low and this and that, but we don't really know what's happening in our body.
Exactly.
And so what is sickle cell anemia?
So basically, it's the disease or the condition that affects the red blood cells. After 20 days, they become deformed and all these infections come through. Currently, there's only one cure, which is invasive, and it's a bone marrow transplant. So a bone marrow transplant comes with all these risks, and there's more research coming in terms of stem cell transplant or gene editing, but that's still in the early phases of research.
You know, this is not something that, you know, you woke up one day and be like, I'm interested in this conversation. No. It's something that, you know, really affected you when you were pregnant with your daughter.
Exactly.
And then, you know, you had the condition and then she got the condition, and, you know, there's a whole story about all of that. But before we talk about her and her condition, can you tell us a little bit about your beautiful girl who is now 10 years old?
She's 10. She turned 10 on 28th September. Her name is Mapalo Joy. So Mapalo is a normal child. I wish I could bring her here today. She's vibrant. She does everything. Even the school would tell them, please don't let her take part in sports. And then I hear, Mom, today I ran 2 laps at school. Like, really? So with the condition for her, when she was diagnosed, one of the worst thing that happened was for her to have surgery, and they took the part of her left lung. So she's got 1.5 lungs. So I'm always watching her, and with the condition, it's any extreme, the heart, the cord always affects her. But the questions have come in, why me? What is sickle cell? And you just don't know how to explain.
You know, is the invasive way something that you guys are considering with the bone marrow transplant?
Yeah, I think that'll be, for us, unfortunately, even a doctor says our daughter has been one of those cases. They usually use her in their speeches as in that she's gone through the whole process. Her sickle cell has just been so different. She's gone through all the medications, and for us, we are thankful to God that the young sister is a donor. So hopefully early next year she'll undergo the bone marrow transplant.
That's very lucky, but that's not for everyone.
No,
you know, and this is, I guess, why you started the advocacy group.
What happened, like, because she's 10 now, so the first 5 years for me really was, I was a mess. The only people who knew were my close friends and family. I didn't tell anyone, but I realized later on, especially at work when I'm late or I've been away, if I told somebody, there's something different in me if I tell somebody and they listen to my story. So 5 years ago, I started a Facebook page where I would just do the research on behalf of everyone and post the latest research coming into us sickle cell world. And so the group, the following grew over 5,000 people. Then I said, you know what, we need to take this further, where not do I only speak to the people that communicate to me online, but where we can go in hospitals and you know, talk to people that will have somebody to run to, which I didn't have when I came to Melbourne. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
That's what I'm trying to do.
I'm so glad you came through, and yes, I will raise my voice too, help out where I can.
So help out, and royal sleeves, because with these kids and with these people, the #1 treatment besides the medication is the blood transfusions. My daughter does blood exchange, blood transfusions every 4 weeks. So royal sleeves,
roll
go and donate blood.
Go donate.
That's the least you can do, and we've been trying to do that as a family, as people in our group, and yeah, that's how we can start helping out.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Madiba. Critics are saying it's irresistible, flawless, a brilliant musical about a brilliant man that's full of...
Can I get you guys to just quickly, briefly, tell us what is the musical about?
Madiba The Musical is a celebration of life and equality through the story of Mandela. It uses his story as kind of like a mood setting, and it sets the tone for what was happening in South Africa during apartheid, and uses fictional characters who have very relatable storylines to everyday people to kind of get that message across and what he stood for.
The tagline says it all, a celebration of Nelson Mandela. So the person is someone, I think, who had such beautiful ideals that it's worth celebrating that and worth saying to everyone, this is a human ideal. It's just there's a name behind it, Nelson, yes, but this is a human ideal. And I think everyone who comes to see the show will feel that from the show. Yeah.
The role of Madiba, and it is you. Tell us how that feels.
To be picked for this role is amazing. You know, it's immense. I guess there's something that connected with whatever I did that made him think, I think he can play this man really well. So that's the best compliment one person can get.
Now. Miss Ruva, tell us, what does it feel like to be such a phenomenal woman? You know, Winnie Mandela. What does that feel like for you?
First, I'd say yes, humbling, definitely. And it's quite an honor to represent an icon in history. And I've always talked about being a confident, strong Black woman. So I feel like for the first time, I'm actually getting that experience and I'm actually learning about what that means and, you know, sacrificing and humility and resilience and persistence and strength and wisdom and all of these facets of things that, you know, women, sometimes you have a few of them, but she had all of them. And I find that incredible. So it's been a real humbling experience.
Yeah. Cool. And what helps you to get into these characters? I mean, so that you can do it so well on stage?
You'll see, it's not like a spotlight on Nelson Mandela, which is very nice because it says we all have a story. So how I get the honesty out of it is I, as a human, have encountered the same, if not similar, encounters as Madiba. I've had my prisons that I had to, my demons that I had to face, my relationships that were tense. That honesty is what guides the honesty that I would portray in Madiba. Now what happens, it's my story, I'm just using Mandela's body. I'm borrowing his spirit, I'm borrowing his words and his voice. But that's my story. So that's the honesty that you have to portray on the stage, you know, and I think that's what helps me get through.
Yeah, I would say similar. I'm quite young. I'm only 26, so I feel like I haven't lived through as much as what these incredible people had gone through. So I'm really drawing off a limited bucket. So I tend to just look at what I have gone through, but yeah, also with my family and my own mother and people close to me, and seeing the echoes of what they went through has happened to a lot of people that I know as well, and asking them what happened when you were young and this was happening around you. What did you do? How did you feel? And just kind of interviewing people around me and seeing what their reality was like and trying to use that as a mirror for me when I go on stage.
And I feel privileged to have seen you here in Melbourne and to see representation of, you know, my people in this way. And yeah, well done. And thank you.
Thank you so much.
These are some of the words that he uses to describe himself: rhythm technician, phonetics manipulator, cultural architect, way paver, and I'm pretty sure there's more. All the way from New Zealand is UNCHAINED XL.
Thanks for having me here.
Hey, absolute pleasure. How are you going?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
And you are fresh from AMCF stage?
Yeah, I was playing there yesterday afternoon. I had a wonderful time.
Yeah? Awesome. It was good to see you live.
Thank you.
Finally, I know that you support our show, you know, all the way from New Zealand.
Yeah, I love it. I've been following it for some time now.
Yeah, and we love your work. So congratulations on everything that you do and everything that you have accomplished. And now let's talk about some of the words that I said about you. You know, the words that you used to describe yourself. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I guess in ways it's just a facetious kind of way of explaining that I rap, I create music, but I'm also interested in issues pertaining to identity and culture and that kind of thing.
Culture and identity plays a huge role, obviously, as you said, in your music, because, you know, the third culture space, it's real.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was born in the UK to Nigerian parents, and then I came to New Zealand when I was very young. And I grew up with a very Kiwi experience, but also at the same time being invested in the Nigerian community, having an identity rooted in there, but also just not really feeling at home completely in any singular space. So just having to work that out and figure out who I was as I grew up, and that sort of has come through in my music.
Yeah, and how do you navigate that?
Yeah, I mean, it was a very interesting journey, having to come from a place of wrestling and a lot of tension with not really feeling at home to a place of celebrating what I am. And I think the turning point were some specific conversations that I had with some friends that I met overseas, and they kind of illuminated the idea that this sort of new generation of African Westerners, particularly in New Zealand and Australia, because we have such young communities, are in a unique position to actually be way pavers and lead future generations. So after that conversation, it was quite a tipping point. I just started to think a little bit differently about things, and then when I made music, I think those kind of themes popped up just naturally.
Yeah, and you know, like society kind of expects certain things from you, and then you know they'll turn around and be like, "Go back home. Would you do this?" You know, and you're like, "This is my home. This is all I know." Like, you know, how do you navigate that space?
Well, it's quite interesting because that's actually where my artist name came from, Unchained. The idea of being free from these expectations that are not only placed upon us by our culture, but also the culture in which we live. So we're trying to, I guess, there are many important ways in which we're being pushed towards a certain thing. And I think it's important to tell African young people that you're in a unique place where you can create something that is yours and that you can pass on to future generations.
Exactly, and you're all about, we are creating this.
That's right.
Hence the cultural architect. See, I got it. And so, you know, and this comes through in your music. You know, let's talk a little bit about that. Some of the prominent songs that you've done, some of the people that you've worked with to help you in that space. Yeah, so in the EP that I released earlier this year called Foreign Legacy, I work with a few New Zealand African artists, Jesby, Nuil Nonso and Putiso Dintwe, Kenyan, Nigerian and Botswana, and respectively. And yeah, they're all people with very similar experiences to my own. And I think we were just able to come together, and our different ideas about what we experience and what we're going through sort of coalesced and just made something that really represented this African New Zealand, African Western fusion. Yeah. Amazing. I just want to say I very much appreciate the support so far. It's been a wonderful experience coming here, performing my songs and having people sort of recognize them, see what's going on. And yeah, I just hopefully, you know, I'll be able to come back here, do more things, and yeah. And before we go to your song, what's next for you? So I'm dropping a new EP early next year. I'm hoping to tour that. I'm looking sort of overseas, obviously, to come back here potentially, and also London's my sights as well. Yeah. So yeah, we'll just have to see what happens. Keep it locked. Keep it locked. Thank you so much. Amazing. And now performing live, Unchained XL.
Let's go. We're creating something for
What's up? This is Pass It On. Shout out Advocacy. Shout out the Black President. Shout out Us African TV. Let's do it.
The builders, the legacy makers, the paradigm changers. And for tomorrow, they'll hear about us and know exactly who we are.
Yeah. Paint from the same palette, forged from the same mallet. Kings and the queens, all from the same palace. Picked from the same ballot, torn from the same fabric. Different ribs clash on the same planet. Same shoes, same jeans, not the same places. Cause I believe you alive when you implanted. Parenthood is sacred, even when you ain't planned it. And the pain won't stop when the pain tapping. Yo, I read scripture that is written with the pen of people are person slave driven. There's irony in us calling it white man religion when we the ones set down colonialism. Think about it. Language is powerful, don't talk smash. We got the same roots, every day my thoughts back. That is why I'm not in your direction as I walk past and
y'all look at me and have smiles in our
back. Sit with me with exchange energy. No Hennessy, water, no your enemy. Then again, bartender tend to listen in on the most sobering conversations. We just got different traditions, my man. I just wonder what you think you standing on. How we really gonna battle for equality? Battling the one who made the sequel. Pass it on. Pass it on. Pass it on. Oh, pass it on. Yeah. Pass it on. Pass it on, oh, pass it on. They gon' know when I done pass it on. Hey, pass it on. Pass it on, oh, pass it on. They gon' know when I done pass it. They gon' know when I done pass it. They gon' know when I done pass it on. They gon' know when I done pass it. Yeah. Everybody talk about what the king said, but nobody want the crown that the king wear. Cross or a rifle, one smooth, one square. White smooth first, let a black queen, no fear. So many Superman walking by. X-ray vision, what they talking about? You can see that we ain't their kin, but the X-rays never penetrate their skin. Even though this is a land that they against in. Krypton Empire still expanding. Hit them with a greenstone history facts. Black poverty could be this, could be that. My eyes roll more, I be blind as a bat. It's like they is trying to be whack. If you watch me, Leo, they trying to be black. Need a cup of tea, let me try to relax. There's the absence of the older male. I think the finance ain't handled well. There's more doing crime, so there's more in jail against brown coaches. It's just doing the fail. Cause and effect look alike. Who has a twist? Who has a right? You say it's impossible. What do we fight? Blank canvas is tend to be what? Pass it on. Pass it on. Pass it on. Oh, pass it on. Yeah. Pass it on. Pass it on. Pass it on. Oh, pass it on. They gon' know when I done. my zone's gonna come for me. I look both ways before I cross the street. Most look one way, safe as can be. Life is a toll road, homie, pay the fee. And everybody who's prayed for me, can't promise I won't make you ashamed of me. Cause I spent 30 years staring straight into a mirror, still trying to figure out who was facing me. But yo, after so long, I've been fighting fires. Finally, it didn't hang on my helmet. Cause I seen what they trying to burn. Yeah, I seen the pain, and God knows I felt it. Blessed are those who make peace. But we need a bit of chaos on the recipe. So at best, I'm a thorn in the side. That worst on me, I'ma let the Molotovs fly. Pro-black, pro-Christ, no apologies. Anti-colonial, anti-monopoly. Pro-immigration, anti-policy that puts the creation below the economy. The change I pursue is a marathon. Can't see the finish line, still gotta carry on. Ideas are inept till you act upon. And knowledge ain't power till you pass it on.
But we know
shout out to Azubuike,
what
the
needs
black
to
president.
be done because we have the knowledge. It's been given to us, and it's our duty to make sure that we strengthen it and pass it on to those around us who didn't know before.